Was that a cool intro transition? Did you like that? I hope it came out well. So, in THX we trust. I gave a rather glowing review to the 789s. I say them in plural because I have 3 of them. And THX tech is a big deal. It's a very big deal. And you can't buy the 789s anymore because they've literally disappeared, and no one at Mashup knows when they're coming in, and they don't know how they can build them, and it's like, oh my god. So your choices right now for THX tech are, there's 3. There's a benchmark amp that costs like $3,000. There's this Monoprice portable, which costs under $300 and is amazing, and you can watch my review of that in the channel. And then there's this, which is just called the Monoprice THX Desktop Amplifier AAA, blah, 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 blah. And you want to know from this video if it's worth $500, because that's what this costs. And I'm going to tell you straight up, yes. Yes, it is. You can stop watching now. You don't need the guy who writes the summaries in the channel to write the... It's just yes. Because if you got a 789, that one, you'd have to still buy a balanced, to run it properly balanced, you'd have to get a balanced DAC, even though it has a volume knob that isn't balanced. And luckily, that happened at the exact right time in the history of the world, where the Geshelli Labs Enog exists, the SMSL SU8 exists, the S-DAC, this is a balanced S-DAC, right, on Massdrop? So you can actually get a balanced DAC. But there's a thing on your face. There was a thing on your face. But if you want an all-in-one THX, you could either run the portable on your desktop, which you can just plug it in and then USB it, and then here it is. Here's your THX test solution for under $300. Or if you want 3 watts a channel, like this has, you buy this. Now that's 6 watts a channel. Just pointing that out. And I know that sounds like half the amount of wattage, because math. But 3 watts and 6 watts is only like a 3 decibel increment. So I'm going to tell you, when you plug headphones in, whether it's Argons, Sendis, these are the Campfire Cascades, I've plugged a lot of headphones into these things, And you just know you're listening to a THX amp. You just know it. The sound signature is fuck. What does it sound like? Are they warm? Are they just clear to the point of almost hurting? Now, this isn't a perfect unit. There's going to be some flaws I'm going to talk about. But overall, how does it sound? Well worth $500. Just well worth. Stop. Take your credit card out. Put it in your fax machine. Hit the fax button. Send it to me. I'll tell you what it's worth. We have to talk about the settings and options that this has as well. Because the 789, everyone, I pimped the 789. I stand by my 789. But maybe you want a little more. Maybe you want some EQs, or maybe you want some Crossfeed. You want digital inputs or analog inputs. Maybe you want some options. Boom. Boom. So let's look at the back of this. Let's unplug the Sendis for a second, which are running off of a surf cable, because surf cable told me to open up the surf cable with the surf, and they're like, here's the surf cable. I'm like, cool. So I'll use that for the Sendis now. Even though the Sendi cable is amazing. Power plug, which is a 16.5 volt, 1.25 amp, which seems weird. I don't know. That's very specific. If you lose one of these adapters, don't lose this one, because you can't just buy a 16.5 volt, 1.25 amp anywhere. USB plug, optical in, which is what I'm using. By the way, look at this optical cable that Monoprice sells. That's machined aluminum. Coaxial AS3, which is a digital interconnect format designed specifically for like professional mixing consoles and things like that. You probably won't have this, and probably 80% of people, 80? More like 99% will never ever use this in their life. I had to do it, and I have a lot of shit going on here, and I had to go out and buy an adapter box. You get analog inputs, you get XLR inputs, and you get RCA outputs. So here's the deal. This is one of the flaws. I love the fact that you get the option to like XLR in. Oh my God, I'm doing things. You get the option to run another different balanced DAC into it. If you don't want to use the digital DAC that comes with, and it's a very good DAC, you could, just run XLRs into it. Great. Problem. This is an analog input. The amplifiers are obviously an analog output, but somewhere in the middle, it's going to turn it back to digital. That's so that parametric equalizers, THX, sense surround, thresholds, and volume limiters, and all that other shit can work for your inputs. So, whereas the 789 is purely analog, it's got nothing digital. You turn it on, you run signal into the back of it, it amplifies it, spits it out, nice, pure, simple. This, when you use the internal DAC, you get a digital input and it goes to analog and spits it out. That's fine. But when you use the analog inputs, it converts it from analog back to digital, and then converts it from digital to analog and then spits it out. And that's not quite fine if you are a purist. I can't really hear. Here's what I'm doing, all right? You want to know how the obsessive... You want to know why I'm rubbing my forehead right now? You can't see it, but I'm like scratching the blood out of my brain. Because I've been sitting here trying to figure out, does that affect it? Is the DAC as good as that DAC? Because that's my like benchmark go-to DAC. Is DAC? How about if I output the DAC in this to this, and I plug back and forth? Can I hear a difference between, even though those are the same amp, I could use the DAC, which is that DAC, and I use this DAC, but it's only RCA, but I'm not using RCA to that DAC and this DAC. And then what if I set up a settings, and the settings could output? I love this unit. I really, really do. And I think you're going to buy it, but it's got a couple things that just... Zen. I got to find my Zen. It's okay. The analog inputs run through the digital, run through a converter to make them digital and back out. If you're using an analog input that's just, if you're not doing high quality listening from some sort of source, that's fine. I would not go and spend more money on I wouldn't spend more money on a DAC than the DAC that's in this to run in there. That's just convenience having extra inputs. The output now. Because this will line out, and I could set it up to line out, and it'd probably be better for speakers than it would be for another amp, although if you have like a tube amp and you want to run it, you could use a DAC and amp in this, and then you're good. This has parametric equalizers on it. Do you remember my review of the RME ADI2? That thing was insane. And that thing was clean, and that thing had power, and the only thing it didn't have was balanced. And I'd say just get a 789, strap it to the bottom of it, and you're done. This is trying to be like just a micron of RME because of the options it's got. I'm going to see if we can look through the menu. I should really have tested this. So you hit menu button here. You should look at the interface of it, right? 4-pole, 1/4 inch, screen, menu / power button. Even though it doesn't say power on it, you just have to sort of know that if you hold that down, it turns off and on. And you have enter and input. If you hold down that, I guess we can't do it in the menu. So if you hold down that, you get to choose what do you want to hear. Line in. Now I have everything plugged in. The line in is coming from that Cashelli. The XLR is coming from that Cashelli. The optical is coming from my optical from the computer. The coaxial is not plugged in. The AES3 is not plugged in, and the USB is not plugged in. I was running this USB off of my laptop. I honestly don't hear a big difference between USB and optical. Some people say there is, and I'm just like, but drivers, and I don't want to touch it. So, F that. So let's go with optical input. We use the internal DAC. I've done my switching. I could actually probably unplug that thing. And then you hit enter, and there, optical. Get the volume indicator. It says H because it's the headphone out and not the line out. That I can switch from H to L. And it's just like, anyone who doesn't know your amp, it's going to say, is that high gain? Wait, it's on L, it's on low gain? No, it's headphone or line. And then 44.1 is what's being sourced into it right now. Pacific Rim is playing, the Pacific Rim OST, the Dragon Age Origins OST. Menu. Page 1 of 4, EQ, then DRC, then Dirac, then settings. Settings. Okay. I've gotten good at this. Hold on, I got this. Settings, enter. And then you'd be like, page 1 of 6. I want to scroll through these pages. No, that's to adjust the actual setting. So then you hit enter to jump through the pages. Output mode headphone. Okay. DAC filter normal. You have choice of normal, slow 1, or slow 2. And then ADC, which is the input, a filter of normal or slow. Enter again. Reset all. So if you want to reset everything to default, you can do that here. And enter again. Hits the about page. You rotate. Tells you the firmware. I had to update the firmware on this unit because the original units shipped had the analog inputs were actually inverted phase. And I was like, I tried to compare. I'm like, wait a second. If I choose optical, it sounds like this. And if I choose XLR, it sounds like this. What the hell is that? And it was because the phase was actually physically inverted because the DSP in the unit was firmwared backwards. And they fixed it. So, yay! Back to the menu. Let's talk about it backwards. So settings, you know what the settings now are. DRAC. DRAC sense surround. Let me do a quick explanation of what Crossfeed is. Crossfeed is when you have headphones. I don't know, do we have any headphones? I mean, oh yeah, here we go. When you have headphones and you're wearing them on your head, and a sound plays specifically out of the left channel, your right ear cannot hear it. And when something comes in the right channel, your left ear can't hear it. And if things move from right to left, you have to rely on the source to actually play here and then start bringing this in and then here. But when you play on speakers and if something plays out of the left channel, both your ears hear it. Obviously, you'll just be able to tell it's there and not there. And that's what Crossfeed does. Crossfeed tries to emulate speakers. So instead of having things that sound like they're coming from directly on the side of you, like headphones are, it mixes certain frequencies at certain timings. Like it literally, it's not as easy as just, oh, blend some of this into this and this. It's very complicated shit. And it tries to do it in a way that sounds natural. So instead of hearing left here, you're hearing left here. And right here becomes right here. So it moves everything sort of forward, but you get this much more natural sound of like, oh, I'm in this place and this is a speaker setup or real life is happening. And it's one of the best crossfeeds I've ever heard. It's a little extreme. Like usually there's settings for a crossfeed, like how much intensity do you want? This literally just has on or off. And I find myself on certain headphones, certain things I'm doing, if I'm playing a game or if I'm just listening to like acoustical music, I will turn that on and I will enjoy myself. I know. I got to turn on my audiophile cart now. But it works. It literally works. Sometimes it makes music that's very complicated and left and right sound a little bit too narrow and in front. Like you sort of lose the magic of like the whooshes. But on other things, it's like, holy shit, why isn't this on all the time? So, bravo on DRAC. By the way, DRAC creates DRAC Live, which is one of the best room correction softwares on the earth. So, it's interesting to see them show up in like something like a fucking Monoprice amp. But I think they're in bed with THX. Who, by the way, is owned by Razer. Yes, that Razer. Don't ask me why George Lucas sold it to them. DRAC, DRC. Now, dynamic range control, enter. Basically is compression. You turn this on. If all your music is too loud or too quiet, you want to sort of average it out, you can dynamically limit everything that's playing. You get enable, you get threshold, you get ratio, you get low frequency offset so you can compress it and take the bass and just shove that up. I was actually playing with it and it's not the worst thing, but as a purist, I would not put that on ever. And then you get to the EQ. Now the EQ, which might be the sole reason you buy this. For $500, here's what you could do. You like to EQ things. If you want to do it in software, there's software that can do it, which always escapes my mind, the name of it. I'm sure someone in the comments will be like, oh, you mean this one, Zeos? Room is Room Equalization Wizard. It's not that. There's one that EQs your whole computer. I forget what it's called. Read the comments. Or, right there, Mini DSP HD. So you plug an optical signal into it or a USB signal into it, you get 4 analog outputs, and you can fuck with it for days. The analog options on the Mini DSP HD are so insane, there's no comparing them to anything. ADI, just garbage. RME has no options compared to the Mini DSP HD. None. And this is like, ha 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 ha. So you have a choice of buying a $200 DAC. I would call that a DAC. Getting analog, non-balanced RCA outputs, plugging them in, and you can EQ all day. Or something like this that has, I want to almost call it rudimentary because the Mini DSP HD exists. But there's not been another headphone amp DAC combo that I've ever seen that gives you this sort of level. Well, other than the RME ADI, but that's $1,100. So let's look at the EQ real quick. Menu, EQ, okay, go. Start with the shelf EQ. Shelf EQ, you get low frequency gain, and then the frequency setup, and then high frequency gain and the frequency setup. So you can actually just do a real quick bass and treble boost, or drop. That's it. That's what that does. If you don't want to turn that on, you get the parametric EQs, 5 of them. The portable, this has a 3-setting parametric equalizer. If you don't know what parametric equalizer is, search that term. Basically, when you're looking at a graph and you see here are the highs, here's the mid-range, and here's the bass, you can pick a point, a specific frequency, and then take that point and raise it up or lower it. And then where the curve was a straight line, now it's got this dip in it. And then how aggressive that dip is, you can adjust using the Q factor. And then you could do that 5 fucking times. So you can go, you know, there's like a ringing at like 6,000. So I took a thing and I bent that down a little bit. And then I came here where I thought the mid-range was a little bit, it wasn't sparkling enough. So I took it and I made a little peak right there at like 2,400K. And you could adjust that in this. In fact, it's on. EQ is on. So EQ, parametric EQ is on. Frequency of 350 for whatever reason. You want to change it 360, 380. We're going to get to this wheel and the volume knob in a second and why the volume is annoying. 600 hertz. We're going to gain +6, which is the maximum. It goes +6 or -6. With a Q value, which is the shape of the curve, of 0.7. No, 0.5. It goes from 0.5 to like... Hold on, I'm doing it slowly. You have to go slowly. If you go fast, it freaks out the knob. 5. So there's a Q value of 5. So that, and we go back. Now that is on. And it doesn't, when you get back to the main menu, it says EQ. Doesn't tell you which parametric EQ is on. Just tells you EQ. And that's another little baby flaw. Because I could see if you were correcting, like, if you had one little thing you wanted to fix on a headphone. Okay, put on parametric EQ number 1. And then you got another headphone, another thing, you turn it off. What I really think the EQ is going to be used for, I'm going to shut this off by the way. You can disable the EQ entirely. I have to go in and check every one of these. They're all off. 5. They're all off now. Yay. What I think you're going to do with that is not so much headphone corrections, but speaker corrections. Because you do get a line out. You can switch from headphone section to line section and output RCAs to speakers. But all those parametric EQs are for everything. So if you correct a set of speakers in a room, because that's where you'd probably do it more likely than on headphones, it's going to run through your headphones as well. So that means you're going to have to go and you're going to have to, let me think, all right, you want to shut off the equalization. So you're going to go to menu, you're going to scroll up to settings, you're going to go to EQ disable, you're going to go yes, and then you're going to go back and back. So now you've shut off the corrections. So I guess it's not the hardest thing to do, but it's still not convenient. It needs more buttons. Always more buttons. So what else are we going to talk about with this thing? How's it sound, Zeos, compared to that? Well, like I said, it's... Once you're into THX land, everything is cleaner. I could plug in here, Campfire Cascades, which are getting their review soon, and you're all going to buy them. It's going to be one of those, like... This is Geschäftlein Obsession, which is perfect. I'm gonna skip forward a little bit. Oh my fucking god. Now, I don't know if I'm coming because of the headphones or because of the amp or because of the DAC, but all in conjunction is just... I need to pause. We got to talk about some more flaws, and they're not, again, they're not any flaws that are going to make you go, oh, I can't buy that because the EOS says it does this. But, and this is only for people who use 1/4 inch. If you use balance, you won't find this problem. When I plug into, if I'm playing this, if I plug into the 789, the little white LED, when I plug in, goes red, and then it becomes white, and then it's playing again. You can see it and hear it. There's a overcurrent protection built into all THX amps, which measures if, when you plug these in, there's 3 contacts, and when you pull things in and out, the contacts short, just for a split second. This touches 2 things at the same time, or it's bad. So it goes, oh, okay, I'm fine. The 789 literally will go, and that's how long you have to wait for the overcurrent protection. Now, if we are to do that on this unit, it's going to, I'm going to plug it in, overcurrent protection. And now it's playing. Which is a lifetime. And every time you unplug it as well, it goes overcurrent protection. That can be avoided if you pause the source. If there's nothing playing, there's no voltage, there's nothing being powered, you can just plug it in as slow as you want. And I've tried to go real fast in and out, but I don't like how this 1/4 inch plug sort of feels. It's very notchy, and I'm worried I'm going to break something. So you either have to pause your source or lower the volume a lot to lower the voltage. And here's the problem with lowering the volume. And this is the final flaw of this unit. After this review is over, and I've talked about it enough. We are at 15 decibels, negative 15. And if someone comes in the room and you go like this, 22, 31, 44. I want to put it back to 0. Oh, 7. It has got the slowest volume control I've ever seen. And here's the thing. I'm spoiled by this. The portable monolith, this thing's volume control is just... You start on mute. Here's your, here, negative 60, right? And now, this is a digital knob that goes click, 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 but it turns infinitely. This is not. You click it on and you have a nice smooth sweep front to back. And when you turn it, it knows exactly, precisely. I can go from negative 40 to positive 5. I could just, oh my God. Oh, it's so fast. And I got this first and used this first and then this second. And I was expecting this to have that sort of level of control. And it is it's like Grandpa's driving the bus. And you're like, Grandpa, make a right-hand turn. Okay. I'm making a right over here. Where should I stop it? Oh, God. Now, that may seem like it's a no-brainer to not buy this because of it. But when you are in the right volume zone, you've got whatever headphones you've chosen. Here, let's... Sendies. Way too loud for the Sendies. Whoa, babies. Which, by the way, Sendies right now on this song, negative 32 out of... It can go up to 0 and then plus 16. So, power not an issue. Some headphones, not all, but a very, very select few that require a lot of power that are balanced. I was plugging from here to there, and I thought the 789 still sounded a little bit more ready to push them. It's just the word I'm going to use. Ready. Just ready. Just a little bit. Like a tiny bit. But this is still a THX amp. You don't have to fucking worry about it. But that's how much headroom is on this amp for these headphones. Oh. By the way, that's, again, Geschaffelstein obsession. So at negative 25, I can go louder. Or I could just, I can get it down like negative 40, 45. I can lower it and raise it. You almost don't realize how slow it is. Once you've found where you need to be, you can just steer the boat up and down. And it's a little bit delayed, but you're fine. It's only when you either switch to very, very different efficiency headphones, or someone's like, hey, got some dicks, and you go to lower that down. I don't know why anyone would yell that. Don't yell that at people. Hashtag got some dicks. And you go to like lower it, say, what? What do you got? And you can't turn the knob hard enough or fast enough to make the volume go down. So, flaw, analog inputs get converted to digital. It has to be done so you could use all those crazy EQs and all the goddamn sensor on it. It has to be that way. But if you don't want that, you gotta wait for the 789, because then it's just pure. That's the same on the portable, by the way. It is also doing digital conversion. Flaw number 2 is the over circuit protection is just endlessly slow. So if you're going 1/4 inch and you plug and unplug headphones a lot, it's gonna suck. If you could just pause your music, or if you just swap headphones when nothing's playing, that isn't a problem. If you're using balance, it's not a problem, because all 4 pins go in and come out. There's nothing to ground out. It doesn't over circuit protection ever if you're using balanced. The equalizers are a benefit. If you're going to use them for that, God bless you. I love you guys. You fight the power. I think they'd work better for speakers and headphones, although the ability to turn off all the equalization is nice with one series of button presses. And then the volume control is just slow. It's just slow. But overall, if you had $500 to spend on an amp DAC combo, and it was like EL stack or this is a THX. This is balanced. This has equalization. This is a better buy. The EL stack is still fucking amazing. I have one. It's in my bedroom. EL stack sits in my bedroom because you know what? Sex kitten is what it looks like. It's like, But if you want balance and you want equalization, if you want an all-in-one, this is the all-in-one to beat right now. And I don't see anybody coming at it without THX inside. You could have an exactly similar box here that does everything this does, and it's $100 cheaper. If it's not THX, it's not even competing. That's what it comes down to. You only have a choice. FIO is finally going to come out. They have like the little module that goes in the bottom of the Q5. THX is building them a module. Because FIO doesn't get to build it. THX gets to build it, and then they sell it with FIO. So I think this is going to happen to a lot of brands. Like, I'm going to review this Sennheiser HDV 820, which is a very expensive headphone amplifier. And you know what I'm going to say about it? The same thing I said about that Sony Tazzies. It's not THX. Why am I bothering? There's been a couple amps that I've allowed through. The Klipsch Heritage was a nice, warm. It was $500. It's the same cost as this. You ready for the comparison? The Klipsch Heritage amplifier is basically the same cost as this, balanced, DAC, switches, knobs, and I would say you could have both. If I had to choose either one, probably choose this because THX. But that, on a perfect day with the wood and the knob and the warmth, is an amazing amplifier. And you know where you can buy one? In this month's yard sale. Or next month's yard sale. I actually got a couple of them from Klipsch at like a discount. I'm just going to drop them in the yard sale and hope I break even. So, if you don't know, that was a nice, smooth promotion switch, I'm going to point out. Things that are here, not things that are here, but things that are here are probably ending up in the yard sale, which is runs from the 1st to the 10th of the month on my Patreon. If you're a $5 patron, you get to throw a bid at any number of things that I've either bought or been sent, and I'm done with them and get them the hell out of my house. So check out the Patreon for that. You get to see these reviews early, a week, couple days. I'm trying to build that buffer up, but it's tough with dailies. If I have a life and dailies, they don't usually match up. So I'm doing a lot of work now at like 1 in the morning. What time is it? I don't know. It's late. If you want to ask me any questions, you can ask me on Patreon, but the messages on Patreon are like 3 weeks behind. You're better off, if you really want to ask me questions, instead of spending 5, spend 10. You get into a private Telegram chat. You can literally message my phone. There's 150 people in that chat. They're all willing to help as much as I am. You at me, I answer you, use my voice. It's great. The links in the description will be as follows. This. Several other still amazing headphone amp DAC combos, like the EL Stack, like the Klipsch Heritage, like the, I don't know, what else is out there? I would link to that, but it just doesn't exist anymore. I'll link to certainly the Shelly Labs, maybe some headphones, I don't know. This is all you need to know about. This is what you came here for. You wanted to know, Zeos, is it, if you didn't come here and asking for anything, but is it worth $500? The answer is yes, it is worth $500. Mini DSP is also in the description. Mini DSP. Yes. Yes, it's worth $500. Just know that it's got a slow volume knob, that these are actually going to turn into digital when you plug them in analog, so I wouldn't go spending $1,000 on an extra DAC to plug into this. And that over circuit protection. It's like the little baby flaws. They're flaws that, maybe no one notices. But I notice them. I think we're done here. Thank God. This is like the 5th time I'm recording this review. Everything's a problem. Wallpaper in the description. Link to this in the description. Link to the Patreon. Link to any number of things. I'm tired now. I'm going to go to bed. I will see you all again tomorrow for another review. Oh wait, shuffle's time.